want to kick off today with a hearty congratulations to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, Tea Party candidate, wins the Republican nomination for the Senate in Texas. And you know what Ted Cruz did? He served Chick-fil-A at his victory party. Ted Cruz served Chick-fil-A at his victory party. And we want to congratulate Ted on a generational change. Our big sponsor, Freedom Works, was intimately involved in the
happy anniversary,
Ted Cruz campaign.
Happy anniversary!
Ted Cruz.
Anniversary!
Yes, all right. Okay, I tried every year we do our best here to downplay birthdays and so forth. It never works. It's a 24th anniversary of the EIB network. That's right. August 1st of 1988. They just placed a giant cake in front of me, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 candles on it. What does that signify? Nothing. All right. I've made a wish, and here goes. See, still have amazing breath control after all of these years. Let me help you lift the cake up. There we go. I'm not going to tell you what I wished for. That's 24 more years. Oh, that's automatic. I'm not even thinking about the end of years. Anyway, staff wants, you ought to see what they gave me. In fact, you've probably already seen a picture of it. They went out and they replicated the bust that was commissioned of me for the Hall of Famous Missourians, in which I was inducted this past spring. Stephen Tilley, the Speaker of the House, hung tough amidst all the controversy back then. We flew in and had a great day in Jefferson City. So I get an email from a couple people yesterday. We want to drop by in California. We want to drop by tomorrow morning just to be there on your 24th anniversary and have a little gift for it. Oh, geez. Okay. This stuff embarrasses me. You people, I do not like being the center of attention. Somebody asked me if I'm going to the Republican convention. I said, no, I'm too famous. I'm not going. I'd be a distraction. So anyway, I drove up. I got here this morning, and the L.A. contingent, and most everybody was already here. Unusual. And they came in. They said, "Hi, how you doing? When you got a chance, we can't bring this to you. You finish your show prep. You take a break. Just head out to the front office." I said, okay. So about an hour later, I walked out the front office, and there's this giant, this thing is huge, bust of me. And it took me, I read the plaque on the front of it, and then I realized it's a replica of the bust that is on display at the state capitol, Jeff City, Missouri, that I didn't have much of a chance to look at because it was, get from point A to point B to point C to point D kind of day. And I didn't have much chance to stop and look at it. So it's really, folks, you don't know how odd it is to look at a bust of yourself. It's not like looking at a picture. It's lifelike. It's huge. It's a little bit bigger than my head, and it looks good. The same artist did it, the sculptor out of Kansas City, Missouri. And so we've taken pictures of it, and we put it up at rushlimbaugh.com. Heartfelt thanks to the staff for that, because it's really great. We bring advertisers, clients in here, any number of people, and they're not going to be able to avoid seeing it. And you know what they're going to think? My God, this guy has got the biggest ego ever. He's got a bust of himself in here for everybody to see. And I made that point. I said, yeah, well, that's the image they have. We may as well further it along. So there it is on display out there. Cookie also went back to our audio soundbite archive. And I have the cue sheet here. And she has a soundbite from my grandfather back in the early 90s. From my old speech teacher in Haskell, Irene Wright. Irene Wright, we were always tried to play silly phone. Well, we did. We played silly phone tricks, my brother and I, friends, it was our pastime. And every time we tried one on Irene Wright, we never succeeded. She always knew it was us, but she never told anybody else in town that we were on the march. She never ratted us out, so we were able to pull off our pranks despite her knowing. And then there's a couple sound bites of my mother and one of Bill Clinton complaining that there's no truth detector to gauge what I say. And I told Snerdley, you know what? I don't know if I start with this stuff or stick to the issues crowd. They said, no. You never talk about yourself. You may as well make some of this about yourself. I said, okay. I readily agree. But seriously, congratulations to Ted Cruz in Texas. And the fact that he served Chick-fil-A at his victory party. They're out there saying Ted Cruz served hate chicken. You realize at certain places, Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day today, and by 9:30 in a lot of places, Chick-fil-A was out of breakfast. They were already serving lunch. Millions of people are showing up at Chick-fil-A today, celebrating Chick-fil-A values. I don't know how many millions are streaming into Chicago today to celebrate Chicago values. How many things last 24 years? Cars don't. A lot of relationships don't. It's hard to think of many things that last 24 years. And how many of those things that last 24 years actually improve in 24 years? Single malt scotch does. Certain vintages of wine improve. Cigars, if kept properly, will age and improve in the process. I mean, you can even say that women, yeah, Snerdley, look, there are some attractive 24-year-olds still around, for example. I'm just kidding. I couldn't. You know me. I love stereotypical sexist humor, especially the more politically incorrect. The more I like it. 24 years is 5 more years than Michael Phelps has medals, for example. And in all these 24 years, people ask me, what are you most proud of? And I don't know. I don't really stop to ponder that. But there is one thing. Started in 1988, and this show was it. And it doesn't seem that long ago. I read tech blogs written by young people who think the 1990s is ancient. They write about the technology that existed in the 1990s as though the way you and I talk about Model Ts and Model As. It's a fascinating perspective. To me, 1988 was yesterday some days. And then it seems like a century ago other days. And some days this seems like the first day. It seems like August 1st, 1988. It's different every day. But the one thing, I go back and look at the timeline, 1988, all there was ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. On air media. Yeah, I mean, you had local stations, but in terms of national, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. You had the newspapers and the magazines. That was it when we started. Back then, you had a job at ABC, CBS, or NBC. Those were tough jobs to get. There weren't very many jobs. There weren't very many TV commentators with analysis gigs on television. You got one of those. It was unique. You were special. Now those things are a dime a dozen. Everybody, people you've never heard of, people that nobody else has ever heard of, are routinely on television as Republican strategist, Democrat strategist. You wonder, who are they strategizing for? Where do they go to strategize? What organization are they part of? You've never seen them before. Now, it's one of the easiest things in the world to get an analysis gig, which ties in to my point here. Back in 1988, they had a monopoly. They had a monopoly on what was reported. They had a monopoly on what was said about what was reported. And, as important, they had a monopoly on what wasn't reported. They were able to spike news stories, and nobody knew. If they didn't report it, Nobody knew that it had happened. There wasn't any competition, and it was a faux competition between them. ABC, NBC, the way it worked, CBS was the acknowledged Tiffany, and everybody let them have that. NBC was acknowledged second place. ABC was acknowledged third place startup. They came to the game late, and they were growing, and everybody was happy with the position they had. Nobody expected to unseat Walter Cronkite. But John Chancellor and Huntley and Brinkley, they carved their own niche and their own audience. They were happy with it. And then over at ABC, you had Dean Reynolds, whoever was, I forget, way back then. But they really didn't compete against each other because they were part of the club. They were all part of the same club. And then CNN came along, and they had no competitors because all they wanted to do was cable. And they owned the news on cable, and it was all the same. If you missed it on CBS, turn on NBC. If you missed it there, turn on ABC. If you missed it there, go to CNN. If you missed that, LA Times. Missed that, New York Times. It didn't matter. It was all the same everywhere. And then August 1st, 1988 happened. And a sleeping giant known as the silent majority appeared to come to life out of nowhere. Now, they had always been there. Conservatives, constitutionalists, traditionalists, whatever you want to call them, however you want to describe them. They were always there, but they never, ever saw their views reflected in major media. Stop and think about that. Never, are so seldom as to essentially be never. No matter where they watched, no matter where they went, every Republican sucked and every Democrat was a prince. No matter where they read, no matter where they turned on the radio or television. Maybe one exception was Paul Harvey. Early morning in the radio. They were there. All of a sudden, they start showing up, audience surveys in robust, you start showing up in robust numbers, and the monopolists don't know how to deal with it. So they assign all kinds of conspiracy theories to explain why and how somebody they had never heard of, me, ended up getting a gig on a satellite out of New York for 2 hours. How did this happen? Who is this guy? I never networked. I didn't hobnob with management people or anybody else. I just wanted to be a guy on the radio. And when I moved to New York, I just wanted to be the most listened to guy, pure and simple. And all of a sudden, they started assigning characteristics to you. Oh, you're a mind-numbed robot. I'm a Pied Piper. You don't know what to think, say, or do until I tell you. But then other days, I'm just an entertainer. Can't take Limbaugh. And then the next day, I'm the titular head of the Republican Party. And then when Clinton won, that's it. That's the end of Limbaugh. The public has just rejected the Republican Party, and with it, there goes Limbaugh. Every election, no matter who won or lost, it was the end of me. What will he talk about now that Bush is gone? And when Bush won, by the way, in August 1988, when he started back in November of 88, when Bush won, well, that's the end of Limbaugh. What's he going to talk about now? Then Clinton wins. That's the end of Limbaugh. The public has rejected the Republicans and Limbaugh. Then they, only a year later, said Clinton is what made Limbaugh. I mean, it has been, to try to follow these people, has been schizophrenic. As each day, month, year, they attempt to explain to themselves how this all happened and why it sustains. And you know the drill. Racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. There's was occasional compliments some days. But still, there is a resentment and a curiosity and an anger. They've thrown everything at this program to try to wipe it out. They haven't been able to because they didn't make it. This program did not become a success because media told you this was something cool and hip that you had to be a part of. There is no end of Limbaugh until I determine that there's going to be an end. They've tried and thrown everything they can. Lies, it doesn't matter. And the reason it never matters is because of you. you don't believe them. You know how they operate. You know what they're trying to do with these phony, trumped-up controversies. Unlike other media people the media has made, people you've never heard of, all of a sudden there's buzz and PR releases and interviews and profiles. They say, who's that? And those people every day have to go out and first and foremost make the media happy. They have to go out and make the media happy, make the media like them. They have to show up at clubs at 2 o'clock in the morning so it looks like they're hip. And if the media turns on them, they're in trouble. That's got to be a heck of a life to really have to every day care what the National Enquirer may say about you. Fortunately, that is not me. So we've always existed in a different universe or different realm from the traditional media. It's all been made possible by you. We've been through thick and thin on this program. Largely been thick. I'm not talking about my weight. These have been 24 straight years of good times. And it's a golden age here at EIB. And we, all of us here at the EIB Network, have you to thank for that. Let me take a brief time out here. We'll come back and get some of these sound bites from my grandfather, mother, the speech teacher, and then move on from that into the rest of the news of the day. You know, the big Olympic controversy now is badminton. And when you can imagine angry badminton people calling me today? Yeah, it'll probably happen. All right, don't go anywhere. Be right back.